My name is Martin. I come from Sweden and I am 26 years old. I started playing League in 2010, and in the last year I was together with K-Corp. We won EU Masters in the Spring Split. It feels really good to be in the LEC. I've dreamed about being here, so the fact that it's now come to reality and I get this chance is just, it's surreal. Feels like I'm not waking up from this dream. I would love to play against G2. I feel like they have a lot of good players and it would be cool to play against Hans in the bot lane and to play against Caps in the mid lane. So my favorite champion is Vayne. I used to really enjoy playing Kennen as well, but Riot decided that he's no longer an AD carry champ and he's more a top champ. Yeah, I also really like playing Tristana and Sivir, but I feel like I kind of played them too much at some point, so don't have the same love for them as I do for Vayne and Kennen, who were more a stint in my League of Legends days. Okay, let's just cut. I have been here before, I have won many things, and it's just great to be back.
Hello, welcome back. As we're definitely not moving positions as it is.
No one has to know. Gosh, I'm just so excited to see Rekkles finally get a chance on the LEC stage.
It's great. It's awesome to see. I thought his delivery was also really good. Very deadpan.
What do you mean delivery?
Oh, yeah, never mind. Regardless, though, last game of the day, we've got Fnatic up versus Vitality. The great return of Rekkles to the LEC now. Oh, sorry, there's a lot happening. Up versus Vitality will not be the easiest one, I don't think at all. So let's start by our expectations for this newcomer, but also who's aside from him in that bot lane in Rux, who has a crazy story, right? Been grinding up, been working in the ERLs, got his chance at Worlds to stand in, and now is picked up to be their starter.
Well, I mean, I think we should start with like the Fnatic expectations, right? Because last year, when we looked at that roster, we thought this is a championship winning roster. And when we look even closer to Summer and Worlds, this team looked like it had the ability to win LEC and perform extremely well internationally. And what you're seeing on your screen right now is Rux when he had to sub in for Hylissang at Worlds, and his performance was spectacular. However, every time they got closer and closer to actually meeting these expectations, they ended up falling just short. So Fnatic said that they needed to make a change. Something needed to be different. No one expected the bot lane to be the part that they changed, especially when Upset and Hylissang had such a dominant performance in the bot side of the map, but something wasn't working in that team, and so they decided to bring Rux up from the Academy side based on his performance. I imagine not only at the World Championship, I imagine many trials and discussions were had to bring him up to this point, but the addition and the return of Rekkles was something that caught, I think, everyone off guard.
Absolutely. I do think it's funny, like, Rux just literally not dying a single time at Worlds was just, like, such a shock for Fnatic fans, of course. But I think that what you're looking at in a player like Rux next to Hylissang, he is so strong in that engage role for the team. Like, that's what he was shining on the Leonas of the world. That I feel like now, where Rekkles in the past has had maybe 80 carries, it's been like difficult to find like that mesh in the bot lane of like, do we want to play like really aggressive? Do we want to play more like scaling towards late? I feel like Rekkles has a little bit more power coming in here in the sense of like Rux is a new guy coming in. So I expect this to be a very Rekkles-driven duo lane.
Yeah, we have a little bit of time, so I would like to explore it just a little because you said it already. The bot lane was phenomenal for Fnatic last year, even with the issues that they had. And I feel like we had shining lights on several points of the Fnatic lineup, but they didn't eventually get where they wanted to get, right? Being a title, being deeper run into the World Championship. So it is going to have to be important that they really, really perform, because what else is it going to look like success for
Fnatic?
Yeah,
that's the thing, right? It's no, how do I word this? Humanoid is no stranger to slumping during the regular season.
Very diplomatic. It's a little harsh, maybe.
He's a player that I would argue peaks at the right time.
Yeah.
And there were conversations at the World Championship that he was one of the best performing players of the whole tournament, right? Especially when Fnatic got that 3-0 start in group stage, everyone was like, wow, Humanoid, this man is impressive. And then they started taking away some of his champions. They started to target him a little bit more, and then he couldn't quite have that same level of performance. And now we're back in a best of one situation, but the stakes are very different.
Oh, yeah.
And so my question then becomes, what type of Humanoid do we see? Are we going to continue to see that same level of performance? Is he going to be ignited from the get-go, or are we going to see a Humanoid that's taking it back, trying to figure out how this new system works, has a new bot lane to work around? Is he going to get more resources? Is he going to get less resources? Like, Humanoid is a very flexible player that throughout his career has been known for Orianna, Ryze, Victor, Azir. Like, he plays the control mages. His Akali was terrifying. I feel like that he's a player that's never struggled with the meta adaptations. It's just a matter of at what point is his ceiling going to be hit? And often during the regular season, we don't always see it, but now Fnatic, for a brand new bot lane, for a team that's now very different, we need to see that level of performance for Fnatic to find the same level of success as last year.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there's maybe a little bit more pressure on Humanoid right out of the gate to step up for this team. At the same time, when I think about it, I'm like, what did Fnatic look like when Rekkles was on this team previously? And that was very much a bot-focused team with mid lane roaming down to bot lane so consistently. So yeah, it's been a while since Rekkles has played on this team from G2 to K-Core. But at the end of the day, I feel like Wonder's probably happy to play, sort of chilling up on the top side. Like, I feel like this is, again, going to return back to old-style Fnatic, where we're going to see a lot more focus around mid to bot.
All right, let's see if that pans out. They're up versus Vitality in this first game. Now, the expectations for Vitality are a bit different than they were coming into last year. Of course, a lot of the super team moniker didn't really play out the way they wanted to. And Perkz has also said, you know what, no, let's not talk about the team in that manner. We're just going to see what happens. Don't put too many expectations on us.
He certainly has. I think that it's fair of Perkz. Throughout his career, he has been humbled a number of times. And to be fair to Perkz, I don't think that he was the one coming in being like, I think we're going to be the greatest team ever. It was just that when you looked at the names on that roster, the expectations were just so incredibly high. And the team themselves felt like that after spring, we can do better. We know we can do better. We're going to perform better. And then they ended up falling short. And it was a disappointment. And now they're going to change a lot of things up. We expect the primary character to be coming from the jungle.
Yeah.
We've got a new addition up towards the top side of the map, a brand new bot lane, all primarily being built around Perkz. And normally when teams are built around a single player, it's to set that player up for success. But it feels like that this roster is about how Perkz can enable everyone else in this team.
And the most anticipated starter, I think, out of the whole LEC weekend is Bo, right? In terms of kind of what we've seen from the solo queue highlights to the memes to general expectations of how good he is as a player. You know, it can only go actually it can go one of two ways. Up or down.
What if it's just the
lateral.
same? What if it just goes completely lateral? No, I honestly, when Perkz said that thing about like set low expectations, sorry, that's the goofiest thing I've ever heard coming out of that guy's mouth. Like, this team is super exciting. Like, just Bo alone, sure, but you also have a bot lane, Neon, that got a lot of hype towards the end of last year as well. But for Bo in particular, I'm just so excited to see that sort of aggressive, get in the enemy jungle style coming in. We've already gotten a couple of tastes of that today. Like, we've seen so much early, like 3 buff starts. I think of the 4 games we've seen, in 3 of them, there's either been a jungle invade on first clear or just a straight up 3 buff start. And the only time we didn't see that was a level 2 top lane gank on Sejuani by Malrong. Yeah. Okay, so this is the world that Bo wants to be living in. We are going to see some really clever early game pathing to set him up to take fights.
Oh, I love that. Maybe it's just Bo's world and we're just living in it. We'll see. Bo and Malrong's world, maybe.
I think also you have
They live on different planets. I don't know what Malrong is the polar opposite player, but they're both doing so much of the early game.
I think that I'm not trying to jump to conclusions. I just kind of want to give people a comparison of the type of player that you could expect when it comes to Bo. When you think of Canyon at the World Championship, he is a player that is very good at leveraging his team's strengths to best enable him and set him up for success. This was the type of playstyle that Inspired also found a lot of success with. The most important part about that style is reliable laners that can consistently support you and your decisions when it comes to what you do in the jungle. We've seen it. We saw it in the past with Rogue. We've seen it consistently from Damwon. And now the question is, can Vitality do a similar thing? And is that the style that we'll actually see Bo when it gets on the stage? On paper, I think that we can expect that. Neon became incredibly consistent in the summer split. Perkz, even with the struggling performance, was one of the best performing mid laners throughout the regular season. And Photon, the new addition, the kind of hyped player coming out from Challenger in Korea, is someone that, I mean, I don't know much about what level of consistency he will provide, but if he can, then that's all the benchmarks that you need, or the pillars rather, to set up Bo to be that big carry.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds so great on paper.
On paper, it sounds
great on paper. I mean, I'm thinking even like a little bit more practically, like looking into this game, like what do we need the laners to do? Because I actually think our first game of the day with G2 showed a perfect example of how to set up a jungler to play in your face, in the enemy jungler's face. And that included a lot of like early like level 1 fighting in the bot lane to sort of like cheat priority for the rest of the laning phase until that first reset happened, to mid lane taking very aggressive fights too. So expect to see, or what I hope to see from Team Vitality, is doing things like this where, hey, if a jungle gank is coming in the next 30 seconds, or Bo is calling, I want to take enemy Raptors, I want to take enemy red buff, Perkz should be looking to find a trade in that window before it happens, and then look to move. So I don't know, these are things that are a little bit harder to do until you learn the style and incorporate into the team, but that's where I think Bo is at an advantage compared to a lot of other players that were brought in just during this offseason. This guy came over to the team earlier than that, had a couple extra months to try and incorporate in Vitality, even if he wasn't on the main roster, which I think is a fantastic position for him to be in as a player moving into Europe.
Oh, I think that's a fantastic introduction to him as well. But we've got some more to introduce him. In fact, Dagda recorded a history piece for us to tell us about Bo's come up and what we can expect from him in the jungle.
Bo started his career in the Chinese Academy League LDL with E-Star Young, an organization that was created by PDD. Alongside being a legendary Invictus Gaming top laner, PDD is also renowned for his ability to spot up-and-coming talent, including Ning, Knight, Ming, and Tian. Bo quickly stood out on E-Star Young, with his carry jungle style posting high win rates on champions like Graves, Nidalee, and Karthus. This garnered the attention of 2019 World Champions FPX, who approached Bo about joining their academy roster. However, in spring 2021, FPX had a major issue. Less than 3 weeks into the split, Tien had started to have medical issues, forcing him to step away from his starting position on the roster. With nowhere left to turn, FPX looked to their newly acquired academy jungler to step up and replace the 2019 Finals MVP. With little warning or time to adjust to the team, Bo would be forced to play his first game on the LPL stage against the 2020 World Finalists, Suning Gaming. Everyone expected him to fall prey to the powerhouse that is SOFM. But Bo didn't just step up, he took over.
Clean this one up. Featherstorm though dodges the stun. Triple for Bo as they look for more under the tower, and that's a quadra for the Viking.
Surrounded by superstars, Bo was guided by Crisp to become one of the most terrifying junglers in the LPL. Known as the Mad Dog on a leash for his aggression and incredible mechanics, Bo was quick to leave his mark on the LPL. In his third ever series playing against Invictus Gaming, he set the record for the most kills of all time for an LPL jungler, picking up 16 kills on Olaf.
His wing trying to survive, but he's taken underneath the Nexus towers. Bo is padding those stats.
It didn't stop there though. With their new jungler, FPX looked unstoppable, and the kill list continued to rack up for Bo. Suni, LNG, Top Esports. Bo went up against some of the best junglers the LPL had to offer, but none of them could stop the fury that was Bo and FPX. In the LPL, Bo served a 4-month suspension, which ended in July of 2021, and hasn't competed in an official match ever since. Having travelled around the world to join Team Vitality, he is as hungry as he was when he first joined FPX. Having reached rank 1 on the European server in just 32 days, the Vitality jungler is primed to work alongside his veteran talent in mid lane and support. Bo left the LPL undefeated at 10-0. Now coming to EMEA, he looks to keep that streak alive.
And welcome back to the Caster Desk. What a phenomenal piece by Dagda. Just before we get into the game, I believe that Dagda's mum is not only watching, she's spamming memes in the chat. So I just want to say it's a pleasure working with your son. He is an incredibly talented shoutcaster. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Dagda's mum and Dagda for joining us in the LEC. Thank you.
but I am so red. It's not even funny.
You're actually very lucky. There's a lot of red and orange around. Thank you so much.
I was meant to say the camera's not on me, but yeah, it's... Yeah.
I will give a quick shout out. This entire Berlin crowd has been loud and energetic all day long, and we got one game left to play. Let's start by talking about Bo, Vitality, and I think Perkz as well, because there's a lot of hype around Bo. He's got a lot of expectation to live up to, and he's on Perkz' team, who also has a lot of expectations.
And that's why I'm really excited to see him come into this, right? He hit rank 1 in 32 days on the European server, so this guy came in absolutely explosive, looks incredible on these carry junglers. But one of the big caveats that I have to say for Bo is the fact that he played on a team that was 4 world champions around him, right? With Doomby, one of the best guys at linking up with a jungler. You had Crisp as well, who basically babysat him the entire way through his initial few games. So I think this is where I want to see the veterans on this roster step up to help out Bo once more. I want to see Kaiser working with them. In particular, I want to see Perkz stepping up once more to facilitate Bo in that regard.
I think when you look at the players around Bo and Perkz, the expectations are high. Photon, Neon, Kaiser. What they could do is take over the LEC, but they have to deliver. They have to do it today against Fnatic, and we'll get to the teams and the players in just a moment, as it's time to meet our squads. Seeing the interaction there just between Perkz and Wunder, throwing thumbs down at one another. They're taunting each other as they walk past the trophy. That's fantastic. Let's take a moment to turn our focus to Fnatic. The analyst desk just set it up. Obviously, Rekkles and Rux coming in. She'll place Upset and Hylissang. And I think for this squad, expectations are kind of all over the map. Some people think the return of Rekkles, the king of the north, is going to bring Fnatic to the top. And there's others that are a bit more well, we need to see, because Rekkles has a lot of competition. Neon being one of the top performing players from last year, for example.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Comp as well, who stepped up massively, there's a lot of bot laners that have done incredibly well, and even Hansama earlier today now coming back to say, hey, look, you have stiff competition here in Europe. What are you going to bring to the table? Now, I will say with the fact that things like Sivir have come back into the meta, I feel like that's something that definitely will probably see Rekkles tend towards, but I definitely feel like when you look at this roster, Rekkles is going to do his job. That's what he's always been very, very good at, but it feels like a lot of the weight of this team is going to be put onto Humanoid's shoulders, and I agree with the analyst desk in that regard.
Well, we need to find out whether or not Humanoid will have Perkz' number today, but more importantly for me, what can Razork do against Bo or vice versa? Maokai once again in the ban pool, immediately followed by Zeri as well as Lucian. So Yuumi still up and available, Ryze still up and available. There we go, Berlin. The cat is banned. And Perkz' Ryze is definitely something to be feared and considered, as Azir will be the final ban here, Dagda.
Yeah, and I'm going to see if we're actually going to get something like the Lulu or the Sivir coming through here as a ban as well. It's actually going to be the Heimerdinger. Okay, so trying to make sure that they're setting themselves up nicely here to go for something that's a little bit more in the style of Rekkles when you look towards that bot side, but Perkz immediately going towards this Ryze. We said that we wanted something that could control the mid lane, help out Bo, and set him up for success. I mean, Ryze perfectly sets into that mode.
It is Perkz' most played champion by a significant amount, 57 games. He has a 57% win ratio. His next most played is Orianna at 46. Locked in, we know the damage he can do with that champion and with that Big Daddy Donga Dagda banned away. What are you going to see of the reply here? Because I think the big question marks for me is the bottom lane as well as the junglers here. What can Bo wield to try and take over the game?
Well, I think the interesting thing is that we've seen very different styles in the jungle today, right? Well, we've seen things like the Graves that came in earlier on. We've seen the Maokai that's consistently banned away, Sejuanis, we've seen Wukongs, we've seen all sorts of things. So I think there's a big question mark around what Bo wants to play, because we think of him as being that carry performer, and I imagine we will see the jungler locked in here as well, so we might get a hint of what that is. But on the opposite side, Fnatic, great poke, great setup here coming through from both the Syndra and the Varus. But one of the big things about this combo is that although it's very good at controlling space, not a huge amount of consistent damage. So I'm waiting to see exactly where the rest of the damage on this Fnatic lineup is going to come from.
Yeah, and of course, for Humanoid on that Syndra, it's about his 6th most played champion, 23 games, sub 50% win ratio. Graves locked in for Bo. This was one of the champions that you explicitly warned me about and talked about being like a damage, a carry, the tip of the spear. If Bo is enabled on a pick like this, his run that we saw in LPL Spring could happen once again, and you now got tools around him that can amplify and work with this.
I mean, this is just a perfect setup here when you look at Vitality, right? You want a pushing mid laner that can facilitate your jungle on a Graves, and then you've even got a self-reliant AD carry in this Ezreal for that bottom side of the map. So overall, Vitality are already setting up for that game plan and trying to play around Bo that we're already expecting, but nice call from Razork here to go back towards the Kindred. So bringing out his own carry style and making sure that he can have a little bit more safety against the Graves, try and play at range, but also then offering in towards this, hey, I've got that consistent damage that Fnatic was lacking in the first 2 picks of the draft.
And Bo can't completely kill your entire team if you've got the Kindred ultimate. Next level strats. The thing for me is timing is going to be so incredibly crucial, and now we need to look at what the support pool is going to play out by, as well as what the top lane pool is going to be, because I don't think we've even had a moment to highlight or talk about Photon as one of the players that also has huge expectations coming in for Vitality.
Yeah, a big player coming over from Challengers Korea. I was talking to Chronicler about this. He's obviously been streaming it a huge amount, and he's talking about how Photon top 3 coming through from the region, highly looked and sought after within a lot of the challenger teams. I mean, specifically came across from like Live Sandbox, was on T1 for a year, and now is coming over here. And one of the guys that loves his Renekton, so the fact we're seeing the respect ban of Fiora already coming through, showing that Photon is a force to be reckoned with, but that's quite a large champion pool. I wouldn't be surprised to see him default back to the Renekton.
Okay, find out this final ban from Vitality, followed up by a Fnatic pick. And Dagda, I want you to start zooming out a little bit. As we see this 4th and then 4th, 5th pick locked in by Vitality, what do the compositions want to do? How do they play the game out? There's a fair amount of poke on the side here of Fnatic. I want to see what front line they put together, if any. Do they reveal? Save that last pick for Wonder, or give Rux the opportunity to have some sort of different approach to Vitality's comp?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I feel like you just want something tanky on this top side. Like, you need a front line, especially when we look towards, like, the Enchanter meta, right? Oh, but that's actually not something that I was expecting to see. We haven't really seen a huge amount of Rakan because there's a lot of wayward burst damage that comes through, and Rakan, not the tankiest of engages. So, kind of surprised to see that coming through here for Rux, but definitely something that can kind of look deadly on a roam. I still, for Fnatic though, want to see some sort of tank member in that top side, something like an Ornn or even Wonders Gragas as well.
And a little bit of a different look here with the Leona being hovered. Rux played that Leona and the Nautilus in the 2 games at the World Championship last year and looked good in it. Kai'Sa will be locking that in. Leona and Kai'Sa are synonymous in my mind, side by side, and I can see some furrowed eyebrows there. Dagda, what do you make of this initiation as well as damage already?
I love it, but I am terrified for Humanoid. It's like, hey, we got a Graves, we got a Leona, and a point-and-click CC from the Rise to try and lock you down. Humanoid is going to be under a significant amount of threat coming into this game, so he wants to make sure that he has all of his flanks covered. We talked about, though, already Wonder going back towards that Gragas. Good peel, bit of disengage, and that tanky front line that Fnatic needed.
Okay, do you like champions specifically as we've seen them dropped? It feels to me like there are answers to Vitality's initiation and damage in the disengage tools from Syndra, Kindred, Varus. Like, the tools are there. It does feel to me like you have one team that's aggressive and one team that's defensive, however.
Yeah, I think when you look towards this, like, Vitality have phenomenal side lane control. They have the ability to get control over mid, thanks to Kai'Sa being able to roam up. You've got Photon as well that should have a great time against this Gragas in the top side, especially as the game starts to progress forward. So overall, I think Vitality have the tools to try and dictate this early game. It's just a case of Fnatic can kind of slow that pace down, then get to a point where you've got that long-range poke damage coming through from the Varus, the Syndra, and then the follow-up consistent damage from the likes of this Kindred.
Going to be very interesting to see as the coaches meet in the middle of the stage. Berlin, I have a question for you. Will Vitality win this game? Who thinks Fnatic will win this game? That is pretty clear to me, Dagda. The fans here in Berlin, I think 2-1 outnumber Vitality 2 in favor of Fnatic. I think, however, backstage, probably like 55, 60% leaning towards Vitality before seeing the drafts.
Yeah, I think the thing is a lot of people, myself included, are kind of looking at Vitality and going, hey, look, this team's ceiling is absolutely absurd if they can get the ball rolling. But, I mean, Fnatic keeping them so much of their core side on that core part of that top side of the map, adding a familiar face back in Reckless, it feels like this is just a formula that's shown time and time again that it works.
And super quickly, don't forget the fact that Reckless dumpstered Perkz at the 2023 season kickoff event. The King of the North took down one of his rivals. So 1-0 up in that show match. I believe we're loading up onto the Rift in just a moment as we're loading up for Vitality taking on Fnatic. I was expecting a cheer there. It's fine. We'll get them later. Okay, take a look immediately.
That work?
Neon is under a little bit of threat here. Is going to be forced to use that Arcane Shift as far as I could see. Started off on that first one, so a little bit of a frustrating start to the laning phase. And immediately, I want to turn my attention to the jungle champions and more specifically, how we're going to see Razork and Bo start the game out. We obviously anticipate Razork needing a little bit more time, and you can already see Bo on this little bit of invade, Dagda.
Yeah, just trying to get whatever vision he can down, but you can already see Razork is set up there, and I think this is going to play a huge amount into this. And I think for Bo, definitely looking at comfort on this Graves, right? We talked about it being a big carry jungler, and that's exactly what we saw from him on FPX when he had that fantastic split, or at least the 10 wins in those 5 series, undefeated in the LPL. He looked incredible, but again, it was a case of you have Doomby, you have Crisp, guys that can facilitate you, but now I want to see Kaiser and Perkz with the advantage they have facilitate Bo once more.
I love that call out, right? The players around Bo help enable and unlock that 10-0 streak, and that is a phenomenal record in the LPL. No one is surprised by like 7 kills per game. That's just the LPL things, right? But can today the players around him help work out as well? We already see that little engage in the bottom lane and Bo making another move.
Yeah, I do love the idea of Perkz going, well, I mean, I can't have Doomby, but if I just nick his jungler...
It's happening, it's happening, it's happening! Reckless Cleanse is already used. He's stepping forward into Neon. Here comes Bo! First blood! And I love it when expectations and hype pay off.
And I love the fact there's a level 2 gank on a Graves. Like, no one really goes for this. But I love it. I mean, it works out. You get the kill onto Reckless, and Reckless and Rooks were actually doing the correct thing in this regard, which is, hey, we're going to push you, punish the fact that Neon had to take Arcane Shift and can't really contest the wave push. But Bo rectifies all that immediately with this quick gank and now sets himself up wonderfully to go on his merry way.
I wasn't 100% looking at his pathing from the red buff. Oh, fantastic. Observers, you guys are so good. Immediately showing dashes over the wall and just comes in. I mean, that's just fantastic.
I mean, it's just a great read. You know there's going to be a ward of Raptors because you already saw that invade. Chances are there's one set up there as well in the tri-bush because Fnatic had already got that push and already gotten a bit of damage onto the bot side of the map for Vitality as well. So just great job overall. Bo now in towards mid lane as well, helping to shove that one in for Perkz because Flash was burnt with both Humanoid as well. So we'll have to see exactly what happened there. But I mean, look, it wouldn't be a game of LEC this day if we didn't have a pause.
I think it's your fault. You brought the
Daggertron.
There we go.
This is what I do. This is what I am.
I'm aware of that fact. I have to give huge users again. I know the crowd has been loud and energetic. It's the first day back for the 2023 season winter split. Reckless, the first one to go down. You can see some stern looks here on the side of Fnatic as we have this very brief pause. I think more specifically for me, I also want to look at how these next few minutes of gameplay do, play out in terms of, can Fnatic stabilize? Can Fnatic get a handle on Bo? If he's able to find these creative movements and timings, pick up a couple more kills, there is so much burst damage and engage on the side of Vitality, they could very quickly run away with the game.
And I think that's already what Vitality are trying to do, right? You could already see Bo moved in towards mid with Perkz to make sure he could push in the wave. That, to me, screams that they're trying to set up for some sort of invade or something along those lines. But I think they're trying to move in towards that top side of the map where already that quadrant has been cleared out by Razork, so at least he should be safe, and that is going to be the key factor in this game, because Razork, we kind of think back last split, right?
Yeah.
What were his champions? The Poppy he popped off on, these more tank-orientated guys, maybe a Trundle in the mix. It wasn't things like this Kindred, so I think this is a little bit of a different look for Razork, where he kind of gets to strut his stuff, but it is in a very high-stakes game against Bo right now, especially with the Graves getting that first kill.
Yeah, and of course, it means the timing as well. When you think of how long Kindred really needs or wants to try build up I also think we need to keep track of those kindred marks, whether or not it's going to find the opportunities to do so. Oh, my producer's just telling me the kindred marks should be tracked in the HUD, one of the new additions to our HUD features. Hopefully the death timers will be there too. Love you, Deppa. We'll find out. It is a new HUD. There is new technology.
You just have to twist the dagger
I had
a
to
little
just
bit.
twist it a little bit, just throwing the production team under. We can obviously see that there are some support staff sitting with Rekkles on stage right now. So while they're busy triaging some of the challenges, I can give you a tiny bit of insight in terms of the lobby chat. As we loaded up into the game, Perkz was like, what's this Gragas angle? And was busy asking Wunder for some back and forth. Wunder's now replied and talked a little bit. I was asking about Photon. How's it going? You know, Photon's got a little bit of low CS. So at least the players are bantering a little bit in the lobby. So spirits are high. Great. Production highlighting Perkz' giant smile on his face as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of happy to see how Photon is going to do here. Because, I mean, this is a guy that's pretty hyped coming across from Korea, but I mean, realistically, he's been thrown in the deep end, right? You're up against Wunder, one of the best top laners that LEC has to offer, and already, like, he's not someone who's going to go easy on you either, as already can tell from the bit of smack that's been
Can I
talked.
tell you something? I don't know if you just mentioned, did you mention the reply that Photon had? So, in the chat, Wunder's busy saying, what's it like playing with Photon? How good is his English? Also, it's kind of low CS, isn't it? Photon just replied, cringe. That is
a legend.
Excellent. That is excellent.
All right, so he wins the mental warfare.
Yes, he does already. He absolutely does. I think as well, you know, one of the things we were actually just talking about before we came on air was what sort of wording, how do you frame this Vitality roster? Because if you do a deep dive and you really look into like Bo's history, Photon's history, you look at the leagues they've come from, there are expectations that they will perform, right? Pretty high. Then you look at Neon's last year and just the phenomenal play that Kaiser's pretty much had throughout his career. The word superstars, super team is a little too much in my mind to use.
Yeah, definitely.
But the thing is, I think that exact same sentence and phrasing and things that I just talked about could have been applied to Vitality 2022, and the team ended 9-9. Now, it's not entirely fair. I'm cheating a little bit. But again, expectations high for a team that was expected to be like a frontrunner, like potentially trophy contender last year. Perkz and Vitality as an org, I'm not going to slightly different route, but they still are in a similar boat. They have to prove it, right?
Yeah, and I think a large part of this feels like it's kind of Perkz being that rock that the team is built around, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the top half of the map with both of the top laner and the jungler being new, it feels like Perkz kind of needs to step up and give that veterancy to them, especially when you look at the fact, I mean, the conversation about the best mid laners in LEC is kind of drifted over towards, you know, Humanoid, towards Caps, towards Larson.
VTO's
and now it
name's
feels
in there
like
too a little bit.
VTO is now starting to come into this as well once he can kind of show up in those best of fives. But Perkz has drifted away from that, and it feels like this is now his time to try and show up and prove once more that he does deserve to be in that conversation.
Yeah, there we go. Razor K, I think he picked up one of those marks there, if I'm reading this correctly. Does do so. Thank you, Dagda. We jump back into lane, and as you mentioned, while that play was happening in the bottom lane, flashes were traded between Perkz and Humanoid. Zenith Blade connects, Shield of Daybreak as well. Kaiser now takes a little bit more damage than he would have liked to, and Razork can make his way down. There's no wards. There's a potential for a counter gank here.
Yeah, Neon will have the Arcane Shift and Flash to try and get away, but Kaiser could be the unlucky one. They're trying to play off to the sides, but Razork's in behind.
Bot lane is the focus. Kaiser, Zenith Blade, anticipating Razork. Neon still got that flash available to him. Kaiser to 300. Neon still holding on to it. Takes a couple more autos and still saves the flash. Rux committed both, and Vitality escape.
That was really well played by Kaiser, managing to buffer the Zenith Blade to escape. And then Neon, the fact he was more than willing to hold on to that flash, I mean, I would have been out of there immediately. He is more calm than I am.
Dagda, I was clenching. I was clenching there a little, but Neon fully understanding his limits. So they escape with their lives. Set the scene. First blood was secured by Bo in that bottom lane gank. There are CS advantages in middle, top, and bot. Actually, all of the laners for Fnatic are ahead, which is why the gold is dead even. And Photon thwacking away. Flash available to him. Leap strike, as well as their power strike. Below 100, and Wunder escapes with 90 hit points.
That was very close. Photon didn't quite have enough damage in the tank, but Wunder again didn't have the mana to body slam away to try and get out of that. Now you get Photon who can push in that wave in topside, and we're just realistically hope for a reset himself, so won't actually amount to too much. Razork though, great job avoiding the ward.
Did he hop over? There we go. Spots someone out now. At least there'll be some information. Perks step forwards. He doesn't know Rux is there. Caught out by the Scat of the Week. Room Prison as well as the Taxi. Rux knocks up one. Razork gets the kill. Fnatic are on the board. Bo steps forward and only level 4. Smoke screen into the Zenith blade. There's so much damage on Razork. Needs to get past the bodies. And Photon arrives. He teleports to the fray. That's another kill for Vitality. Humanoids once again in the lane and stepping forward, trying to use those Dark Spheres. 2-1. It's a 600 gold lead, and we've got a bloodbath.
A bit of a mistake for Perks there. He should have noticed that the ward had been knocked off by that sweeper from Razork, but because he didn't, walks forward. But again, saved by the new members of Vitality, Photon and Bo, with Kaiser, make the play work.
Oh, so well done. Razork, if you look at his champion icon, the avatar on the right of your screen, 2 stacks on that passive. Thank you very much, HUD team. That's awesome. Is one of the new tools that we have. And of course, when the players do go below 10% HP, we can see their numbers there too. But this is the engage. I just don't think Perks anticipated Rux being
Yeah,
there.
you can see that the ward was turned off, so
Yes.
Perks should have been able to see it, but with no flash, can't escape. Bo in the correct spot here. But I also want to say how well Vitality end up playing this once it gets underneath the tower.
I think when you look at the minimap, the number of people for Vitality stepping forward, had it just been the 2-on-1, they could have turned around. But because Rux was there, Perks goes down first.
Yeah, but this is really well played from Vitality. Watch the stun here. Humanoid just pushes Photon outside of turret range. If that stun had been underneath, that's a kill back onto Photon, but Rook's also not able to body block those shots coming through from Bo. Makes it very difficult then for the dive to be survived by Razork.
Yes, we got a game on our hands. 7 minutes in. Dead even and a lot of trading back and forth. Both teams really trying to get under the skin of their opponents. And for the time being, Bo's going to pick up the Scuttle. And looking at the lane assignments, Neon and Kaiser, or like the late state of the lanes, they are pushing forward as Bo's going to make his way up. This could be a 2v2. There is a level advantage in the jungle for Vitality, but in the top lane for Fnatic.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to make sure Photon can crash this wave, but didn't spot the ward that was there. Now Razork knows that Graves has moved away and can sneak in just behind it. Really nice play from Razork.
There's no flash available for Photon. Wonder throws out the explosive cast. Now Bo's going to be the target. And Wolf working together. Photon escapes for now. On the mini-map, there's 2v2 being set up in the middle lane and another potential skirmish in the top. Humanoid scatters the weak and doesn't find a target. Photon and Bo, they are now backing out. They're going to pick up the Honey Fruit. We got a 4-on-4.
It's so tense. Everyone is just setting up. They really want to find that fight, but no one wanted to commit to the angle. Razork does, though.
That's going to be the Shield of Daybreak. That's going to stop down Razork. Knocked up into the air from Rux. Humanoid with Scatter the Weak. It's flashed away from Kaiser. Stays alive. Collateral damage finds no kills. Photon doesn't find a stun. Razork is going to be hopping and skipping forward, but the damage is huge from Perks. The body slam from Wonder still kills nobody. The re-engage. Photon gets one. He's taken up by Humanoid, and now on the retreat. Wonder is low. There's not enough damage to follow. They get out. It ends up being a 1-for-1.
How does that end as a 1-for-1? Everyone is so incredibly low, and just one spell going to either side could have changed the course of that fight, but still, it's a small gold lead at the moment for Vitality, but nothing to write home about.
Fantastic skirmishes, dancing on the edge of safety, but you have to acknowledge they're kind of 2v1s, 3v1s, and they're just trading focus. It's not a full-on, like, everybody chucked in, you know?
Yeah, and I think here, Kaiser should have flashed the initial knock-up. That could have actually given a little bit more space here. Wait for Photon to come in, but now Kaiser is out of the equation, and this body slam flash from Wonder, absolutely perfect. I think the only thing he's raging about is that he used that ultimate earlier on in that top side, so didn't have to follow up here. Photon will get a kill back, but ends up giving one over as well. So very, very close on both sides here.
Very, very close. Very, very exciting start to the game, and we're still dead even.
And one of the things that we have to now look at as well coming into this was, I was talking about, you know, Reckless and Humanoid offering that poke damage coming through because I expected to have the poke Varus. This is actually an on-hit Varus that we're going to see in this bot side as well, taking that lethal tempo. So you've now got 2 big damage dealers for Fnatic that you have to be careful of. And at least Razork had picked up an early kill, now sitting with 2 deaths though, will get a dragon. You're going to be looking to see if both Razork and Reckless can work together to set up Fnatic for success.
Talking briefly about that pick, the on-hit Varus into Jax, Graves, Rise, do you prefer that to poke? Do you see that being more, like, do you lean either direction?
I personally would have probably preferred the poke style here, because I think just the opportunity to try and poke down the likes of Photon or Bo or even Perkz before these fights start off, just making sure that Kaiser has to go for these quick engages can put pressure on Vitality, and with newer players, a newer roster, that's where you can start to see mistakes creep in.
Right.
But I think overall, you still should be pretty fine. I mean, Humanoid is going to offer a lot of that long range poke and engage, as you can see.
Yeah, it does a lot of work. I think the Scatter the Weeks can be huge. Combine that with the Gragas disengage, I think they need to make sure they're on the same page. Like, Wunder and Humanoid really need to work together. Razork has secured his third stack of that passive, and I think by 10 minutes, in a game that's played out the way it has, I think he's going to be pretty happy with that. If he's able to unlock that first tier, and Razork right now will also start the Rift Heralds.
And I think the big thing is that because we've seen all these fighting back and forth, the jungle matchup hasn't really swung in favor of Bo, right? He's actually down on CS. Razork has gotten both of these objectives now, and Fnatic have good vision control in River as well. So even though it started off well for Vitality, and you do have that cheaper item in the Umbral Glaive completed for Bo, it's actually Razork who's doing a relatively good job of keeping Bo in check.
I think the vision point you just mentioned is going to be crucial, because the first item completed for Bo on their Graves is that Umbral Glaive. Reminds me so much to last year in terms of item prioritization. And I know like a lot of people on Reddit feel very strongly about the power of Umbral Glaive.
Yeah.
If a team is able to get an advantage and start suffocate the vision, here comes Vote. Smoke screen is thrown down, holds on to the end of the line, as well as that collateral damage. Humanoid just steps back. So we get this momentary respite. Both teams continue to trade. I think important to highlight that Wunder is continuing to CS above Photon. However, because of the 2 kills, it is Photon that's ahead in gold.
I think the hard part here for Vitality is actually trying to control what Fnatic are going to do, because Bo would like to start moving away from matching Razork, but because Razork has that the Rift Herald in his back pocket, it then makes it a little bit easier for Razork to always win on the opposite side of the map. So that's where we're seeing Kaiser and Perkz now trying to link up, see if they can catch out Razork, and then make a play.
Well, we're going to find out. Perkz with Kaiser as well as Bo stepping back. Not going to find the engage just yet. 2.5 minutes till the next dragon is up. Scatter the Weak won't find the stun, but it will push Perkz backwards. As all of a sudden, Razork continues to step forward. We have another small pause here. I apologize that small delays. I heard from a production team that multiple players just wanted to look into a few things, and we'll find out what happens in just a moment.
I will say, just on that play there, you can kind of see the benefits of this Rod of Ages build coming through from the Rise.
Yeah.
The fact that you get the Catalyst of Aeons early gives you a bunch of health. You get to have that Eternity passive that's healing you up as well. Makes it very difficult to quickly take you out there. You can see with Syndra even blowing essentially a full combo onto the Rise. Able to skirt out of there, not really a problem. So I think this is where you're starting to see why Rise is becoming so popular, and the fact that Perkz has been able to have this much pressure without even having his flash available, that's only going to ramp up now when that's up in the next 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to take a look. I've got a few numbers for Perkz in terms of his statistics and performance last year. I like to bring up when we get into game, because I've got a question for our viewers and see what we'll play with. But in terms of how the game is played out, I'm actually very happy to see how Fnatic have responded to Bo's early aggressive plays. Yep. I think it's also important to acknowledge that in terms of the skirmishes and the fights that we have seen, I think they're bold at times. Like, I think that River fight from mid, maybe a bit brazen, but Fnatic are coordinated, and they are playing the skirmishes that we've seen relatively well.
And I think that's the thing. There's 2 ways to kind of fight a jungler like Bo. You can either fight him straight up, or you can attack the foundations that he's standing on. And it feels like that's the opportunity that Fnatic are looking for, where they're not attacking Bo directly, they're attacking Perkz in the mid lane. And if Perkz isn't able to step up because he's worried about a Rakan coming in over the wall, or a Syndra Stone, or even as we've seen Razork playing around mid lane, he's not able to get control over mid that then facilitates Bo. And that's why we're seeing Bo have to take a step back, is he's not having that same control. Even when you look at Wunder as well, very much dictating the pace that top side, that's kind of limiting Bo's access to the map, and why we're seeing Fnatic being able to keep him in check despite the good early start.
Yeah, I mean, for Fnatic's side, I think Wunder, every time I look at his player cam, he's got a gigantic grin on his face. I just want to tell you one quick story before we do hit to the analyst desk, is that Wunder's typing in chat, continues to type, "Hey, Perkz, how do I say in Korean, please come top, I'm not having fun?" To which Photon replies, "Don't say anything," and then in brackets, Rise ult. So So I will let you guys know that Fnatic has reported freezing in-game. So as league officials are reviewing the
That's just a lane
Shadowplay file and
mechanic. I don't know what you mean.
investigating, we are setting up at the analyst desk. We can only apologize about that. Once I hear that they are ready, we will head over, but I felt it was important just to give our viewers an update. And I do think I'm very excited. I want these fights and these skirmishes to continue to play out. I'm also very intrigued to see what this Kindred could do, because if Razork is able to build up multiple stacks, if that Lamb's Respite can prevent the burst damage coming out from the True Shot Barrage or prevent someone dying during that solar flare, that could be huge. So Dagda, we'll pick that up in just a moment or two. For now, we're going to head to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much. Indeed. Yeah, I hope we get back into game because that's a fun ass game. Like, this is very, very entertaining, especially the skirmishes we saw in the last couple of minutes. Super entertaining, which I think kind of shows, hopefully, what we can come to expect of these teams going forward in the split as well. Maybe it might just be because they're playing each other and it's the first game, but they are willing to get down and dirty.
There's been a ton of back and forth, like even that fight around the mid lane where it looked like Photon was running away, and there's like actually like, let's just make this a 1-for-1. I'm getting right back in there. That was a lot of fun for sure.
But I also just love the way that it came out like straight from the gates, right? Because initially it seems like Razork will have an easier time playing around the lanes just due to the fact that, you know, there is CC set up from all of them, but it's also just the fact that mid lane is a little bit more reliable with the Syndra. But the way Bo kind of counteracts this is just the fact, all right, let me get that ward in the early game. Let me head over to the enemy jungler and see if I can get it. They don't get it because Razork's even prepared for it, but he doesn't care. He's just going down for that level 2 gank in the beginning in the bot lane, just messing up what the initial push that they started getting because they forced the Ezreal to start E. Lots of small, you know, unique things happening as well already with the skirmishes that just make the first 3 minutes of the game extremely interesting to watch as well.
Yeah, I think there were like so many things going into that level 2 gank, right?
Yeah.
Because it was like the Ezreal starting E, so Fnatic's bot lane is feeling super safe. On top of that, I believe I'd have to go back and like actually come through the VOD, but there was a zombie ward that went down in the tri-brush that I believe Bo was aware of, and that's why he actually went for the E over the wall on top of, you know, going for that gank so that he would avoid vision that he knew the Fnatic bot lane would feel so comfortable pushing off.
And that's really funny because usually when you have a Kindred, it's quite often the Kindred that will always jump over the wall, either look for early gank or look for encounter invade on the enemy team to just take away their buffs. But in this instance, it was Bo on the Graves who did exactly what Kindred wants to do against them and down on the bot side instead, which just gave them the pressure as well. So if he wanted to continue as well, moving into the blue side, he also had an opportunity for it. And I think that's a great start for Vitality and a great start for Bo as well. I know we're just talking about a level 2 gang and let's get the overreactions out there. He's the greatest jungler ever.
I mean,
but it's still the small things that
yeah.
really counts. And doing it on a Graves where you quite often expect a full clear, it's a great start.
And I will say that it's not like all, you know, Bo cruising through here, because there was a point Dagda made right before we came over here. We was talking about how Fnatic were trying to attack around that mid lane, sort of shut down the jungle without shutting down. We've been talking all game or all day today how these junglers have been set up by their laners getting push and sort of running at you. So the fact that we've seen multiple gank attempts around mid lane, try and shut down that area of the map, really limits the opportunities for Bo. But those fights around mid have been really scrappy.
Yeah, to help you out, I think we have actually some replays ready of all the kills that happened this game that will be including these skirmishes in the mid lane. But when we get to it, we can talk about it, about like moments where the communication of Vitality did seem to pay off.
Yeah, so they still have that early ward on Razork on the top side as well, so they know they can just commit for this play. And Rekkles is put in this position where, well, there's no point in flashing. The only thing I can do is try and look for a kill and see if anything works out.
Yeah, and here's that fight around mid lane, right? Shutting down Perkz. But this play from Vitality is so sick. Every team that I can think of would call off this play right here, but committing the TP in and deciding to go for this. When Photon's so far away, look at him hopping onto the minion just to get in range of the E, then flashing forward and hitting both. It's perfect. And I think that this gives me so much faith for Vitality moving forward, because look at the players making that play. It's Kaiser, Photon, and Bo. To be communicating and going for this play when you're down in numbers is huge.
What is really interesting about that was also, we don't see it right now, but Perkz moved up to the top side immediately, so despite that you used the teleport from Photon, you still don't lose waves, because he was pushing in and got the stacked wave towards them. So you're not losing resources on the map either. And this is one of the great skirmishes where Wunder finally gets to make the move. but Razork gets overconfident, right? He's not ready for the ultimate when Photon just jumps in.
I mean, who's
They
ready
do
for that?
I mean, I feel like you should think about it,
The
but
guy's 1 HP turning around on you.
Yeah. The
love it.
game is ready, but I think the TLDR is that we saw some great things out of Vitality, but also, as we get further, some great things out of what this comp from Fnatic can do. So hopefully, with the casters, we can see a very long, non-pause-filled game.
just
I
get
hope
into
you
the
never
game.
have to see our faces again.
Yeah.
Today.
Same.
Do you have to
PGL.
close out the show?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Also, you all have lovely faces, so I'd love to see them again. Once again, can only apologize about the delays. I believe we will be jumping back into the red for Fnatic versus Vitality. I promise I wasn't laying on the floor to catch my breath and take a rest. As we load up onto the Rift, I can see the players Berlin and everyone around the world. Put your hands together for Fnatic versus Vitality. Dagda, give me a brief summary of the gameplay so far and what you think is going to be happening next.
So far, I mean, top side of the map has been very much in Fnatic control, and they've been trying to play through that very well. I think Rux has been doing a great job of linking up with Razork to make sure that he can keep that control, kind of match Kaiser on a lot of these roams. So as this game starts to go forward, it is going to start to drift now more in towards, okay, can we see Vitality setting up for their strong side lanes? Like, you really don't want to have a Syndra in a side lane in this sort of position against the Ryze, the Braves, even the Leona that can come in. So if Vitality can start to get things like the Rift Tower that's going to be coming up in about 4 minutes time, maybe look to try and find moments with Perkz having this Realm Warp, nearly having that level 11, that's where Vitality come alive. But Fnatic, honestly, they just keep doing their thing. They're pretty happy, right? I mean, they've already got first Dragon, they can go for a second one. You're going to start looking at them, honestly, still having this Rift Herald, now having full control on bot side. They've kind of caught Vitality unaware here. They can use that on this bot side if they want to.
Don't forget, they've also got that Dragon in their back pocket already. The next one spawns in 10 minutes, 1 minute time, so that can be played into their favor. Razorka's going to use that Blast Cone to get over the Dragon Pit wall. Teleport being channeled into the middle lane as Perkz arrives. Realm Warp is up and Humanoid forced to flash. Caught out, Solar Flare locked down, everything thrown at him, and kill secured by Bo.
That was sick. Really well played by Perkz. Manages to get the kill on towards Humanoid.
I wonder how, I wonder why. Photon hit me head and made him die. Wonder's in trouble. Throws out the slow leap strike, and the tower will take him down. Body slam out, and Photon gets the solo kill. 3-1.
That CS difference is actually telling me there's 600 gold in favor of
Yep.
Photon. I just wanted to make sure that that was
That's
correct.
100% correct.
Okay, yeah.
3-1-0. And Wonder got completely solo killed out there. The damage was simply too high to deal with. And the teleport into that bottom lane for Humanoid. There was some potential moves there, trying to pressure out. Neon ends up fizzling. It's a 1,500 gold lead to Vitality.
Yeah, I think this is one of the big reasons why people are excited about Photon coming over, though, right? Like, he is a very strong carry top laner, can play the tanks, but if you give him these leads, he's capable of running away with it. Divine Thunder now completed, he's only going to get stronger. But Fnatic, though, trying to respond to the bot side.
And also, please remember all of the banter and chat that Wonder has been spewing at Vitality for Photon to pick up that solo kill after basically saying he's not having fun. Not too surprising. Fnatic, however, with an answer. They drop the Rift Herald. They will secure the first tower of the game. They will close that gold difference quite dramatically, and I think they'll even be able to peel back and get this Dragon uncontested. So we are still at a fairly even state of the game overall. One could argue, if this Dragon is not stolen, that Fnatic may have another late gamer tool to play with.
Yeah, I think this is where we're starting to look at, okay, where are these advantages accruing? Because for Photon, it's huge, but Kaiser wants to change it.
Solar Flare into the overloads, looking for the Imprison. Razork is able to escape. I think Perkz needed one more step forward, not able to find that next kill.
Yeah, no vision in River. They weren't really sure if Rux had reset or not, so didn't want to overcommit. Could have been a nice play, but just not enough damage in the area. Now Perkz, though, because he knows that Razork is pushed out, moving up towards his top side.
There's no Realm Warp available to him. Counter-Strike will at least stun up Wonder. He's got level 11 and the flash available. That's a great explosive cast, forced to flash to safety. Perkz used his to try and get the kill, so it ends up being a trade.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they're trying to put the pressure up towards Photon. We're just saying, hey, where are the leads for Vitality? It is through this top side, and if they can get this tower down, which is very close, it then opens up Photon to then start becoming such a big menace in these side lanes. The problem, though, is that Fnatic are winning quite a lot on this bottom side and kind of through the mid lane, where they're keeping up this pressure.
Yeah, but they're going to apply that pressure top through that advantage you just talked about, Dagda. Rux and Rekkles looking to jump onto Perkz. He locks down Razork for now, and Rekkles secures the kill with that piercing arrow. That's the third secured. This will open up a tower, and Fnatic are going to be in control of the Rift if they can secure this objective.
And I love how Fnatic are playing this. Like, look at the amount of red wards that are on this top side. They've been so good at getting vision set up, then making the play. And even though they did have to burn some summoner spells to make that play happen, it still lets them another tower, more control on the map. And Photon is going to find it more and more difficult to leverage his advantage if his lanes are being pushed in consistently on sides, and Fnatic are consistently threatening towards his mid lane turret.
Right, I'm going to take a brief moment as the towers seem to be traded. I just want to highlight and just remind everybody of the tenure. Rekkles is back with Fnatic. He just picked up that kill there onto Perkz. When you look at his all-time win-loss, 258, 149 with Fnatic, 41-35 without Fnatic. 4 titles, obviously. I really just want to highlight 13 seasons, so many of them with this Fnatic squad. Back with the team now, and they've started off well in these first 20 minutes, but the pressure is on because all of a sudden Vitality have taken a tower back and that bottom lane is available too.
And this is where, again, you're going to see if Ryze now can try and make plays towards his mid lane. Photon needs to escape, though.
All right, Dark Sphere used, lots of side steps, ward into the hop, another side step, Counter-Strike buying some time, Grandmaster's Might, and then it is just a matter of time. Kill secured by Humanoid, 5-4. Razork gets himself another stack. That's the 5th of the game. Another tower falls in the top lane. We're approaching 20 minutes.
Wait, why are we sticking around? Fnatic, we need to try and get up towards top side. Actually, it's going to be the case. Vitality not going to stick around. That could have been an inhibitor turret, though. So now, it's a lot of pressure created for Vitality in this top side. If Photon is put in the top side of the map for this Dragon in 2 minutes' time, that's going to cause major issues for Fnatic, where you can just kill that top lane, ignore Wunder for a little while as Photon, and now you've got an avenue that you can pressure and try and create windows of opportunity for this Dragon.
Okay, whose composition do you prefer as this game continues to scale up? I think it's critical to remember that Razork has multiple stacks. He's got that Kraken Slayer already built up. But as the game is dead even, we're about to spawn Baron. Do you actually lean either way?
It's so hard to say right now. I feel like so much of it comes down to execution, right? I think Fnatic have set themselves up well, where they've been playing around that vision. If they can actually continue to keep this vision on the bottom side of the map for Dragon, they can find a good fight, Wunder can TP in, and that feels like their window of opportunity. But with how big Photon is, he's got so much pressure if he continues to push up towards his top side. So it is very much going to come down to Vitality. Can you play the map correctly? And with a minute until this next Dragon, it's very hard for Photon to get that wave into position for the Dragon fight.
Of course, playing on that Mountain Soul, I think that could be critical to survive some of that burst damage that is coming out, really from either squad in many ways. Bo is attempting to back up and shadow Perkz. Smokescreen is thrown out, the tower will be secured. So 3 towers apiece in the river. Fnatic making their way forward. Rux has got the ability to throw down the quickness, stepping forward. Bo collateral damages backwards, knocked up into the air. The explosive Caster Revenge comes out. Perkz is not going to be able to channel the round one. It's a double kill for Wunder, and Fnatic take the kill lead.
Vitality spread themselves too thin. You've got Neon trying to fight for mid priority so that he can go for Dragon, but you've also got Bo who's trying to push in on that bot side with Perkz, and immediately Fnatic collapse, utilizing the fact that they've just got better positioning here. And Rux, great engage here. Look at Bo, right? He flashes, he uses the ult to try and create that distance immediately, but you actually get Rux holding on to that grand entrance, waiting until all that is burnt by Bo to pick him off, and Perkz, unable to escape away, means that he's absolutely done for. Still though, Photon still had got that push in topside, doesn't get the much pressure there, and now Dragon's still up and available, but I mean that's going to be taken pretty much immediately by Razork and setting up Fnatic for a great start to the season.
21 minutes, 3rd Drake secured. I believe that kill score on the top should read 6-5 in favor of Fnatic. Be able to get that rectified in a moment or two, but I think more crucially here is that Fnatic have now been able to find answers to the early game plays that were being thrown down from Vitality. The fact that they can force this next Dragon in 4.5 minutes for their Mountain Soul will make Vitality come to them. And all of that power on the side lane that Photon has will need to be directed into a team fight But I guess when you're 3-2, 2 items completed Jax, you still have a gigantic impact in those 5v5s.
I think the big thing coming through is like, okay, so we got Photon now with the Force of Nature as well. He's very strong against Wunder, he's also very strong against Humanoid, and even some of the mixed damage that Reckless is going to do. Perkz as well should have his 10th stack of the Roa completed at that stage as well, so he's going to be quite strong. So there are like big breakpoints that will be hit on Vitality's side just as this dragon spawns, whereas when you look at like Reckless, he wants to try and get like a Wit's End still coming through, but Humanoid has hit his spike, Razork is doing really well, so this is going to be an all-out brawl, and a case of if Photon can get access to the backline of Fnatic, utilize the fact that this Jax ult has been changed where it gives you more resistances, more damage the more people you hit. That's going to be crucial for Photon to try and carry this.
Man, okay, so set up here in the river. Bo trying to place some wards on that northern quadrant. 3 members hovering. Keep a close eye here on how the rest of the state plays out. Both teams shallow wards. Neither squad being able to get vision into their opponent's territory except for that Tribush all the way at the top, and it's still very, very shallow. And it feels to me like there's some trepidation and nerves around Baron, making sure they got some sort of vision control. Don't allow either team to try sneak it because there's a lot of damage and the ability to burn it down. Quick, the engage comes out once again. It's Razork over the wall. It's Rux with the knockup, and it is Razork with another. Perkz taken down for the 4th time. Solar Flare from Kaiser buys time for the escape. While that's going on, mid and bot is being pushed all the way into Fnatic space, and Fnatic stop Baron.
I mean, they have to pull the TP out of Photon. They know he'll go for the base if they keep going. So now, he's out of there. Both done.
They did it. Absolutely fantastic from Wunder. The flash engage and the cause. The bottom lane tower does look like it's going to survive. Fnatic take the Baron.
Fnatic are playing the map so incredibly well. Perkz overextends in that top side, and immediately Fnatic collapse. They have done it over and over again, and mechanics be damned. Fnatic are just playing this so much smarter.
Fantastic, fantastic performance thus far. Still incredibly close game, but Fnatic have now got the tools. 2 minutes until the Mountain Soul. 2,000 gold in the lead. They've got their 6 stacks on this Kindred for Razork, and this is how it all started off.
But look how shallow the vision is here. Like, Perkz, you have no right to be up that far. It's very easy for Fnatic to sweep through that top side and pick him off. And Kaiser was trying to play bodyguard, but I mean, you're 2 members against the 5 of Fnatic. You don't stand a chance. Now Baron in the back pocket. The sideline opportunities for Photon are diminishing, and the team fight Fnatic is showing wonders here.
I mean, fantastic performance there. All on the same page. Turning, blowing up Bo, and then finishing the objective. They've already secured themselves that 1 additional tower. Now starting to set up siege on the mid inner turret. Razork can catch bottom lane if he needs to. And while that's going on, Perkz with teleport, I think available in just a moment or two, actually is available immediately, shoving in that top lane.
The Perkz, I think, has to realm warp in behind Fnatic here. I know this is a very risky play, but you've got no TP on Wunder. Maybe there's an opportunity for Photon as well with the amount of wards they have. Bo moving into position. This could be a moment, but I mean, Fnatic immediately start to back away. They don't want to give that opportunity for Vitality to catch them unaware.
All right, I do have a question for everybody. Spam in chat. Who will win this game, FNC or VIT? I did want to ask this prior to the Baron. Took a little bit of time to set up. Spam in chat, FNC or VIT? It is 50 seconds until that dragon spawns. Teleports coming in from behind. Photon's looking for the flank Dagda, but it's not going to matter. There's already a kill. Fnatic have taken down Neon. Photon cannot get over the wall, and Humanoid buys time, goes golden. It's Bo blown up. Now Perkz running for his life. The Lamb's respite keeps Fnatic alive, and Photon cannot do much. Hops all the way forward, gets Razork if he's taken down himself.
I mean, that's Razork out of there, so Fnatic have the dragon up and available, but with no jungler, maybe they don't want to try and go for that dragon off bat. They'll instead start to push through this mid lane. And again, Fnatic are playing magnificently here, constantly catching Vitality out when Vitality think they're the ones making the play.
Pulling the trigger so quickly before Photon could get into position, entirely swung the flow of that. The soul is going to be secured. The gold lead is in favor of Fnatic. The kills, the towers, and now obviously Mountain Soul to back it up. Phenomenal, phenomenal game thus far. And frankly, it's been great from both sides, but it's been Fnatic landing more punches.
And that's the thing. It feels like it's coming down to those little decisions. Vitality backing off of that inhibitor turret where that could have been a point of contact. Well, now they can play for that second, third dragon. But, I mean, Reckless, That was gorgeous. Catching onto Kaiser there, buys a little bit more space, and then Neon decides to ult, and Humanoid punishes him for it immediately. Fnatic then managing to flash over the wall. They're regrouped. Vitality are still scrambling to get themselves in position, and it was so close to being such a nice play. Photon TP'ing past Vision to try and get in onto Fnatic, but unfortunately, just wasn't going to be the case. Fnatic were prepared for them.
They really were. Now let's talk about Vitality. How do they bring themselves back into this game? It has been Fnatic focused significantly. The Baron has obviously worn off. You cannot deny the power that Jackson Wise can still have, but it is a gigantic hole to be in, and you're fighting into the uphill battle of that Mountain Soul.
It's really hard for Vitality to get back into this. I mean, Photon isn't really strong enough now to just outright win against Wunder. That ship has long since sailed. You're looking towards the likes of the 2-item spike for Neon is great, but 3 items on the way for Reckless. They've got to try and find some way to overload one side of the map and hope that they can catch Fnatic before they get onto the map, and they're trying to do it now, but Fnatic, they've already reset. They're the ones moving out, and now you can already see Vitality have lost their chance and are backing away.
And you can see the vision as well. A number of wards from Fnatic inside the territory of Vitality. That Wunder build, I haven't mentioned it or explicitly called it out just yet, but the fact that he has gone Seraph's, Everfrost into Void Staff. Keep your eye there as well on Razork. He's got himself the Wit's End, as well as that Black Cleaver and Kraken Slayer. So we're starting to scale up. 2-3 items secured across the board. Photon, third completed 2. But I think with 1 minute and 10 until Baron, 4 minutes until Elder, there are some bounties available for Vitality to look at, but they cannot afford any more mistakes. And if they play that split push game, they cannot get caught out.
I feel like they basically need like the miracle fight. So Elder Dragon comes up, they get the steal, all members of Fnatic are grouped up, you hit 5-man Kaiser ults, Neon goes over the top, Bo hits everyone, Photon gets a 4-man Counter-Strike. Like, that's the level of fight it feels like they need right now to try and bring this one back, especially with the Mountain Soul there, but Wunder.
Oh! That was awesome. Wunder throws down the explosive cask. It cost him his flash. This has allowed Fnatic to apply pressure on the other halves of the map. This is a bounty tower that will give some gold back to Vitality. Fnatic should be able to reply with one of their own in that top lane, 6-5 as far as tower's concerned.
But the thing is, you got Baron in 20 seconds, so Fnatic have full control over top side. It's littered with Fnatic wards, and now it becomes very difficult for Vitality to try and set up for that miracle play that we were talking about. It feels like you kind of got to give Baron, but if you give Baron, well, then you also give presence on the map for the Elder Dragon this 3 minutes. It's a never-losing play here for Vitality.
And keep in mind, just very briefly, that Fnatic have got 3 very tough games this week now, setting up on this Baron. All right, Teleport is available for Perkz. He's level 17. Photon 16, making his way to the river. This Baron is secured, no doubt about it. Bo too late to the party. He's also down 2 levels for the time being. Razork on 16, got that 3rd tier on lands, respite the engage on multiple fronts. Kaiser's already down, traded for Rux. Razork throws out the ulti, keeps himself alive, looking for the heal, and Humanoid unleashes the spirit but won't find the kill. Razork's not doing it, they chase to fall. Fnatic with 2 splits, but can they close it out? Razork gets taken out, Bo gets himself 1. Baron is secured though, keep that in mind as Reckless drops 2. Vitality find themselves 4 kills. How much can they get from this? They're teleporting bottom, Dagda.
Photon's going to try and crack up the base. Perkz is keeping Wunder at bay. Won't be able to find the kill, but I mean, they're just going for the bot side. That was the miracle play.
No way.
That was it.
Dagda, can they finish? There's no way they can finish. Minion
Stop the board.
It's trying to move forward. Have they done it? No. Wunder's been able to recall. He can clear some of this.
It's an AP Gragas. He can clear out the wave as long as he's able to keep them off. The ultimate is going to be up soon. Vitality won't be able to finish. Perkz couldn't stop the back.
Unbelievable passage of play. Wunder, I think, held onto that Baron buff, if I recall correctly. He does do so. Thank you, Dagda. The Elder Dragon is up in 1.5 minutes, and with super minions inside the base, that was the miracle fight Vitality needed.
And I want you to watch Bo in this fight. He plays this incredibly well. So Kaiser goes to set up for this play immediately as that TP comes in. Photon's trying to just back away with the rest of the team. So Bo moves up, gets 1 kill. Now Fnatic trying to jump onto Bo once more. He's trying to keep his distance, but moves back in with that help from Perkz to actually pick up the kill. But watch here, dodges the Q Q, flashes into Humanoid with the Gore Drinker, gets the heal, gets the auto alongside Neon, and is then able to follow up once more. The backside of this fight for Vitality was the difference maker.
They're gonna go again. They're gonna go again. Perkz starts to channel the realm warp. He jumps in behind. Wonder steps forward. The boy slam finds no one. Chain of corruption slowly starting to spread. Wonder's being focused and forced down. It's a 5 versus 4. The solar flare is sidestepped. No CC lands. Reckless cut off from the rest of Fnatic. 30 seconds until the Elder Dragon. Photon finds the stun. Humanoid sidestepped. No flash available to him. Rux running for his life as the collateral damage chips away at the hit points. Neon, Arcane shifts forward, looking for Mystic Shot. After Mystic Shot, Razork flashes for his life. It's Humanoid that gets another, but look at the AoE. Vitality are in control of the fight. Reckless cannot fire a single shot. He cannot find the kills. And Vitality, they're pushing down the bottom lane.
How are Vitality alive? They have no right to be back in this game, but one fight against Fnatic, and they are going for the end. They say, screw the dragon, they want to finish this.
10 seconds before Wonder's up. He's got the ult available to him. That minion wave needs to be cleared very quickly. Reckless cannot afford to go down. The minions are now being channeled. Tower number 1 starting to fall. The bounty is still up and available. Solar flares up in just a few seconds for Kaiser. Here comes Wonder, waiting for the explosive cast. The body slam forward. Cast goes sideways. Super minion still pouring forward. Wonder taken down. Reckless is next. Vitality have done it. Vitality have punished and destroyed Fnatic's necklace. Oh, what was that ending?
I take it back. Oh, Vitality outplaying the team fights from Fnatic and bringing that game back from the brink. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, Happy New Year to the lads, I suppose, because holy moly, that's one way to start things off.
What a fantastic game. Fnatic play, Vitality, G2, and Koi. That was one of the most exciting games of the day. The back and forth, the approach to the game, the individual plays, that single team fight. Oh.
It was played so well. I mean, Kaiser going forward, getting the stop or getting them back from the Baron, managing to buy that space, buying everything for them. Absolutely incredible.
Nicely done, guys. Congratulations. High fives from the players as they cross. That was an entertaining game, and that was a game that you can deconstruct with so many different elements. Like, it will take hours of VOD review to truly cover each of the individual things that went into that game.
But I think it comes down to, again, like the individual standard performers. Photon in those fights, Bo at the end, Neon supporting that. Even looking at Perkz just chunking as much damage as he can over the wall. It was like, yes, you've set up well here as Fnatic, but just those quick 1 or 2 moments that they found the damage that they needed to change the course of that fight, change the course of this game, and win. A big win for Vitality on the cards now.
I think crucially as well, it is important to recognize this is still the first game of the winter split. Both of these teams need to find their foundation and their footing. But both of these teams arguably showed a higher level than many of the other teams that we've seen today, right? So they traded blow for blow. We had individual moments that were great. We also had some small mistakes, of course, right? So there's a lot to unpack, but a lot of exciting potential. Player of the Game nominees at LEC on Twitter, Photon, Bo, and Kaiser are going to be your 3 nominees. But I also think, at least the way that my mind will always remember this game, Fnatic threw the game with that final team fight. That's my gut feeling right now. I need to think about it a little bit more, but it really felt like it was completely in their control until they chased and split up.
I think that it's hard to say. I mean, in the moment when you are that far ahead, you tend to want to try and finish it off, but the fact you just couldn't quite get your carries into a position, Humanoid wasn't able to get that kill onto Bo, like that could have been such a very different game if that, you know, Q had landed, Bo had gone down on that inch of HP, but now Vitality rise up.
They absolutely do. Vitality take up their first win against Fnatic. We are done here at the Caster Desk for the day. Thank you so much, Dagda. Fantastic start to the season. And now over to you, King Kaiser. Congratulations.
Thank you, Quickshot. And Kaiser, thank you for joining me. How much did you like having fans cheering for you like this? How much do you like having fans cheering for you like this after such an intense game?
I mean, it's insane, of course, because, I mean, fans mean a lot to me, because, like, in the bad times, kind of, like, they kind of cheer you up, right? And they kind of help you get out of, like, depressive phases, right? And
True.
Yeah, it's really important.
Well, this one was a happy ending, actually. But tell me about this game. How did you turn it around and rate your impact in the clutch moments that defined the victory for you guys?
So I think the turnaround was kind of like made possible by Bo and Photon, I would say, because like in the mid lane fight where Bo survived with like 1 HP and like turned around and killed Syndra, right, and just made like crazy plays happen. I think we played that fight really well. I think in that moment I didn't really do that well. I think I just like kind of tanked some abilities, right, with the Rakan ult maybe, or like I ulted the Varus and stuff like this. But I think later on I was like having good ults, I would say. But I think the game was like really carried by other positions for sure.
You mentioned Bo and Photon, and this is an important point for me for Vitality. Well, first, Bo, we were really looking forward to seeing him in action in the LEC. But I want to know more about communication, especially because, of course, they need time to adapt in that sense. How is it going for you guys so far?
So outside of game, I think it's going fine. Like it's going really well. They're learning English really fast, right? And
amazing.
Basically, we can understand each other perfectly fine. In game, it's a bit more difficult because the game is like more hectic, right? So you have to kind of communicate in a simpler way, right? You have to just say Varus and stuff like this, right? And sometimes it's easy, but like sometimes it's hard to like explain concepts, right? For example, macro-wise, or like where to go, stuff like this. Sometimes it's a bit hard, but I think they're good enough players that they can learn that stuff really quickly, right? And I think their English is getting better each day as well, so no problems.
And I think it's really interesting because one of them comes from the LCK, one of them Korea rather, and the other one from the LPL. Is it something you can feel in the way they approach the game, and do you feel like they're bringing something new also to Europe?
For sure, yeah. For example, I think Photon, he doesn't like playing weak side, you know, and he's always like, in Korea we do this, in Korea we do that, you know, and we always have to say, yeah, but it's Europe now, right? You're playing in Europe, so you have to kind of change your playstyle. But I think he's pretty open for that. Like sometimes, of course, like he gets a bit tilted, you know, when we leave him out to dry on his own or something, right? But I think that's just natural, and we just have to teach him that way, right? And I think Bo is for sure a player that like can be played around, and he's just really open-minded to everything. Like it doesn't matter what we play, kind of like. So of course, he has his opinions, right, that he brings in, but he's really open-minded to what we tell him, right, and he's really adaptable as well.
That's amazing. And when I see every player from Vitality, I have to think of the tweet you posted when the announcement was made. Looks like a super team to me. We don't really like the term super team, and especially when it comes for Vitality, given what happened last year. But tell me about this team, the potential within it, and how far do you guys think you can go?
I mean, I think with how we, like with how much potential we have, because like we have some problems right now because like communication, stuff like this, right? We still have to fix some issues, right? And I think once we have those issues fixed, I think like talent-wise, we are like pretty unmatched, I think, or like definitely some teams are like really good as well, right? Yeah. But I think we are one of the top contenders for sure. And outside of the game, we are like getting along really well as well, which is really important for like a long season, right? And I think we'll have no problems there either.
And this is also the first time you changed environment. You made your debuts with the Mad Lions, stayed 3 years, I think, with the team. Tell me about what you learned from this experience and how much of a different player you are now, and what can you bring with Vitality?
So in the past, I usually always like to play for the same team like a long time, right? I played with Mad Lions for 3 years, and I really liked it there, right? I like the players, the persons. It was really fun, but I think a change of environment and like a change of just everything, it feels really nice to be honest, because I just learned a lot of different things about like new people, right? And our team environment is super great. I think I think I don't have any issues, you know, and it's just fun every day to like play with each other and just like troll around, you know, and I think I really like this environment, yeah.
And I'm really excited to see you develop with Vitality. Nice colors, by the way. This suits you really well. Kaiser, thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow. It's late already, so I'll let you join the team, and we're going to take a short break now. We'll be back in just a couple minutes for post-game lobby. Stay tuned.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
I won! I did it! I won the LEC! Finally, after all of these years, if it wasn't for my Malzahar in Game 5, I wouldn't be here. But I am, and I won, so screw you to all the haters.